Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be doing the most likely states to flip to the Democrats in the 2024 general election. This is going to be a bit harder to do since they won in 2020, so it's harder to see how much they can add on, which is what, I guess you would say similar to Trump back in 2016. It would be harder to see what more states he could add. I guess you could have argued a state like Minnesota or something like that because it came close, but, based on the party that wins, it is much harder to determine what they can take rather than give up. But anyway, let's make what we can out of this anyway, and just begin. Actually, before I begin, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're getting very close to 500 subscribers, so I have to mention that because you have to subscribe to the YouTube channel so we get to 500. Anyway, let's get right into this video today, starting with the most likely states, the top 5 most likely states to flip Democratic in 2024. And I guess you could also include Maine 2nd Congressional District in that because it's a closer state. But if it happens, then I want to flip it, then I'll do that. But the most likely state in my mind is the state of North Carolina. I think that state could end up going by a lean margin to the Democrats, about 1 point in the best case scenario for them. When you look at it, there are areas that are becoming more Democrat in that area. They have Roy Cooper as their Democrat governor. It did narrow up from 2016. Trump won it in 2016 by about 3.7%. Biden ended up winning, not Biden. Trump ended up winning it by 1.7%. So that's 2 point shifting in the Democrat column. And if they continue that shift, you could see it end up going Democrat in 2024, especially if they're in a good standing in 3 years, but less than 3 years actually. But we don't know about that at the moment. So that's the first state that I think would go, that would budge Democrat in 2024. Next state that I think would shift to the Democrats. Now, this is when it gets really, really difficult because you have states like Texas, you have states like Florida, but Florida's becoming more Republican. Texas, it's shifting Democrat, but it's still kind of a likely to solid, pretty good lean Republican state. And you have Iowa and Ohio that are shifting Republican. So it is shifting that lane, because it's harder to do the top 5 states to shift Democrat. But the next state in my mind that would be able to shift Democrat would be the state of Florida. They would, Obama still was able to win Florida back in 2012. Mind you, there has been a significant shift in that area. I just don't want to give Texas as the first state to go instead of Florida, just because Florida has such that historical understanding of being a toss-up state. I still think it will be. I don't think the Republicans will win it by 10 plus points in 2024. I do think that in 2022 they will win it pretty handily, but I still think it's a toss-up state when you look actually into everything. Trump still only managed to win it by slightly over 3 points. Now that is very impressive, but I think in a Biden scenario he would be able to flip that state back Democrat, getting him winning that state by about 1%. In a good scenario for him. Other things, I think they'd be able to shift Maine 2nd Congressional District back Democrat. I think that this district really depends on the candidate. I think that Trump was a good candidate. He was one of that working class type of person where he was able to win that district by large margins. However, I think it could easily go back to the Democrat depending on who they put up and who the Republicans put up. In contrast, Obama still won that state by 10 plus points in 2012, 2008. Trump won that 7 to 8 points in 2016 and 2020 both. So it really depends on the candidate, and if the Democrats have a different type of candidate, and if the Republicans nominate somebody like Marco Rubio, you definitely could see Maine 2nd going Democratic by about 2 to 3 points, maybe even 4 points, depending on the circumstances. The next state likely to shift will be the state of Texas. That would definitely be by a lean margin. It is shifting Democrat. That is just evident. George Bush won that by, I believe, 20 plus points. McCain won that handily. Romney won that by 10 plus. Then Trump won it by only 9 points in 2020. In 2016, and in 2020 only won it by 5 points. We're seeing a slight bounce back in the Republican column in Texas because some exodus from California of Republicans and also Hispanic shifts, but the whole of the trend is trending more Democratic. So you could see it go in 2024, but that is definitely a stretch. And then the final state, in my mind, to shift back to the Democrats, and then this is obviously the biggest reach of all, but it would be the state of Ohio. They do have Sherrod Brown as a Democrat senator there. Democrats can still win in that state, but that would definitely be the biggest shift, or the biggest upset in my mind, And I mean, you only have two decisions. It's either Ohio and Iowa. And Iowa is more of a Republican state than Ohio. So I will give Joe Biden or the Democrat, whoever it is, that state as its most likely state to shift. But when you're talking about the party that just won the last election and they don't really have to worry about gaining anything, or they're more concerned about what can they hold on to keep power, state like shifts like this aren't as big. But these are the top 5 shifts that I see most likely going Democrat. But it is, of course, much harder to do this just because of the circumstances. Anyway, thank you all for watching this video. I do believe that this actually went a little bit longer than I expected, but, whatever. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like below, and tell me what you think of my predictions. Anyway, have a great day, and stay tuned for more awesome content.